Good afternoon, everyone. Nick Chavez here from Chavez and Valko with my law partner, Martin Valko. We're here to give you the latest update. There has been a lot of developments this past week, and we're here to give you a summary. And also, this is a platform for you to ask any questions you might have, even though it's not on the topic. If you have a question about your Daca case, or if you have a question about your I-130, and we're not talking about it necessarily, go ahead and send us a question. If you want to have, if you have a comment, please feel free to do that. And most importantly, this is very important. If you like our information, if you like what we give to you in the community, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our page. We have that information down below. And also, whatever we say today is subject to change. It's subject to change, especially with the latest developments. They're coming in rapid succession. So it's very important to stay on top. And again, that's why you might want to like or subscribe to our page, or download our app where we give you the latest immigration news. So with that, Martin, what do we have on our agenda today?
Hi, Nick. It's good to be on with you, and hello, everybody. It's neat to have a little wrap up at the end of the week, and so Nick and I thought we'll put it together to go over major or main issues or things that happen in the world of immigration law. And so we'd like to talk about 5 things really. The travel restrictions. As you know, we have the new variant Omicron that is now spread out across the world, and apparently it's in the U.S. already. So it seems like a new variant or new variant of a virus. There's going to be a new restrictions. It seems like we'll talk about the Build Back Better bill that had passed the House and is awaiting the second step in the Senate. We'll talk about the Daca update. It's for the Daca grantees. And especially the new applicants that might be eligible should the Daca pass. We'll talk about the priority enforcement and also about the Remain in Mexico, or also known as the Migrant Protection Protocol for the asylum seekers mostly at the southern border. So, Nick, let's just kind of do a rundown of the travel restrictions. What has changed from the last time? Because it's been only recently when the restrictions were lifted, and it seems like there are some new restrictions.
Only 3 weeks, Martin, and already we're seeing changes. You see that right here? Well, right there. I do a video every so often explaining some of these updates and policies. And this one was about the travel restriction. 3 weeks ago, the White House announced that they were going to lift some restrictions for visitors. And I ended with, it's important to keep on top of it. And so the moment we published that, lo and behold, we had a change the day after we published it. And then there has been another recent change. So it's very important to know that what we say now, it's important to stay on top because that could change, and that's what we're seeing. So the recent update that we're seeing now is regarding this variant of COVID, and it's called Omicron. And it sounds like some sort of transformer toy, if you're familiar with the toys. And so basically the White House said, starting next Monday, that all inbound international travelers, regardless of their nationality or their vaccination status, they will be required to test for COVID-19 within 1 day of departure. And that's different from what was announced 3 weeks ago. And I'll touch on that shortly. And just earlier this week, right, White House suspended the travel from South Africa because of the Omicron variant. And they went even further. Those who were in that country or the country surrounding South Africa within 14 days prior to departure, they're not allowed to come in the United States. for the time being. There are some exceptions. It doesn't apply to U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents, and there are few other exceptions. But that's part of this pattern that we're seeing, that once there's an announcement, there's going to be, you can count on there's going to be some modifications or changes down the road. And but quickly, I wanted to sum up what were those travel restrictions for international travel, because there's two parts. There's international travel and there's travel restrictions that relate to the border crosses that are coming in from Canada or Mexico. With respect to international travel, the announcements indicate that all visitors must be vaxxed. They must have vaccination against COVID-19. Could be Moderna, Pfizer, or any other authorized vaccination, unless they fell under a group. And this group included U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, children under 18. And there are other exceptions that are pretty rare. In addition to that, you must also test for COVID before boarding. So the old, and I say old, it was only 3 weeks old, under the prior announcement, you could show up with evidence of you can show up with a COVID-19 test that you took within 3 days prior to vaccination. But that has changed now with this recent announcement. And it's, instead of 3 days, it's 1 day. 1 day. You have 1 day, 1 day window to get vaccinated prior to boarding. The only exception is for children under 2 years of age. So that relates to international travel. And that's really important right now because we're getting right into the holiday season. Everyone wants to travel. You're traveling prospectively outside the country. And so this is some good information to have.
So you mentioned I'm traveling, and I'm traveling in a couple of weeks. I'm traveling internationally. So as a U.S. citizen, what do I need to come back in January?
Well, you need proof of vaccination. If you were already vaccinated, the question is the question relates to the proof of taking that COVID test. And I know I'm getting lost in the words of these announcements. It's very confusing, but basically, if you had been vaxxed already, you need to make sure you could take your proof of vaccination, and that could be the copy of your vaccination card, or it could be a digital copy. You could take a picture of that. What you need to worry about is taking the COVID test before entering. And prior to this recent announcement, it was only 3 days. You had a 3 day window. Now it's 1 day window. So be prepared for that. Are you really traveling this Christmas, or is this going to change your plans now?
Well, it depends. So the country where I'm traveling, I'm originally from Slovakia. They're under a lockdown, but again, there are some exceptions for citizens. And so again, they have certain protocols, and it seems like it's okay, and it will be fine for me to fly in and then fly out again. Right. But I was so basically, I'm going to need a test that is no older than 1 day to come back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's what it is. Now, the details, I would recommend that you look at the State Department links. They should have up-to-date information as to what type of proof do they need. Are we talking about just any test? Is it a test taken with a certain doctor? So those are things and details that you need to be looking for when visiting.
A good source also is the cbp.gov for the Customs and Border Protection. That's basically for inbound traveling, and they should have up-to-date information. And as soon as we get it, we'll also update it on our social media and through our Lawpilot GUARDIAN app. So it's always good to have. How is it different? You mentioned the international inbound traveling on commercial flights versus border. So you mentioned border traffic. So
the recent changes have touched on the international travel, the travel by air. Now, 3 weeks ago, along with the announcement regarding travel by air, also came restrictions or details regarding traveling through the border crossings from Canada or from Mexico. And they're a little bit different as far as who comes in or who's allowed to come in. They separate the groups. And so we're talking about non-essential visitors versus essential visitors. Now, before the announcement 3 weeks ago, only non-essential visitors, which were visitors coming in to visit family. And we're talking about tourists coming in to buy stuff, buy groceries, shopping, go to Disneyland, all that stuff. They weren't allowed in the United States because that was considered non-essential visitors. But now they are allowed to enter the United States with proof of vaccination. So likewise, with the travel restrictions regarding to air, they will be requiring the Border Patrol officer will be expecting that you present proof of vaccination for non-essential visitors. So that's the good part. At least they have the ability to enter the United States, visit family or friends, whatnot, and they have that opportunity to do so now. Now, essential visitors, there are some individuals who can still come in, and there's no proof of vaccination required if they have an essential reason. And that is still permitted up until January 2022, when CBP will be changing its rules, and they're not going to distinguish visitors coming in with essential reason or non-essential reason. You're just going to need to present, all visitors need to present proof of vaccination. The question here is, does that apply to U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents? Are there going to be any exceptions to that? We don't know yet. It's a little bit unclear. We're waiting for information. I imagine we are, as we did before, but as of now, it appears that all visitors will be required to present proof of vaccination when they enter through a port of entry.
Okay. Well, again, check with us on any updates. And also, if you're flying inbound, check with the Customs and Border Protection at cbp.gov, or check with consulates of your destinations or the countries you're flying into, and also the airline. So they should also have the latest on any restrictions that the country you're flying into might have. So let's move to our second point, which was the
before that, Martin.
Yeah,
we have a quick question, and it relates to what we were just talking about. Marisa Jimenez, thank you for your question. She asks if there are any restrictions for permanent residents. She said to enter back to the United States from Mexico. And as I mentioned, there aren't any restrictions right now. In fact, you being a lawful permanent resident do not necessarily have to produce a vaccination record, but it would be a good idea to, if you're not vaccinated already, it would be a good idea to explore that option, because ultimately, legal permanent residents, U.S. citizens, it appears that they might be required to present proof of vaccination. But no matter what the purpose is, lawful permanent residents may still go and come back to the United States without any issues. Thank you, Marisa.
All right, so point number 2, build back better, right? So I think the first step is really, there was a pretty important step in the House to get it through. That was passed, and now we're waiting to see what will happen in the Senate. I think by now everybody has heard of a Senate parliamentarian, which is currently a position held by, I believe her name is Karen McDonough. Why is a Senate parliamentarian important in this process, Nick? What can she do for this third, or Plan C that we have?
Yeah, well, first of all, parliamentarian, I have some trouble saying that, because we're not used to saying those words. Parliamentarian, parliament, that's something that we associate with England or Australia or some other country outside.
Or Slovakia.
Or Slovakia, yeah, it's a European structure setup. But this Plan C, right, as you mentioned, Plan C, what is Plan C? This week, the Democratic leaders presented this plan that included immigration reforms, things that we want to see happen that will have a positive impact on the immigrant population in the United States. And they presented it in this budget reconciliation bill, right, to the parliamentarian. And before I go to as to why it's so this position or this person is crucial, what this Plan C included is a proposal to provide work authorization, protection from deportation, and they use this term parole. I know that word sounds really bad because we normally associate parole with crime, right? But parole here in this instance is actually a good thing. And parole is the ability to stay in the United States, to work, and to travel. And it's estimated that it will benefit at least 7 million undocumented immigrants. And this parole would last for 10 years. And why do we have to do that, right? What happened to pathway to citizenship? What happened to these other proposals? Well, we're at Plan C. That was Plan A and Plan B. The reason why we're at Plan C and potentially at Plan D is because this parliamentarian is a consultant and has the say so as to what types of provisions can go into a budget reconciliation, a budget bill. This is a budget bill. So what kind of provisions can go in there? And they give the green light to certain provisions that relate to the budget, and then they reject other ideas that they think don't relate to the budget. And why do we need that? It's because we can't do it through a normal bill, through a bill that would only include immigration provisions. Because in that situation, there's a term, and you can probably explain it better, Martin. This is the filibuster, which this is a rule that says, it's an antiquated old rule that says that before you can take up a legal measure or legislative measure for voting, there needs to be a vote to vote on it. And so you need 60 senators to do that. And that's just a very simplified meaning of the term. But we can't get there because there's not enough support or Democrat senators that would do that. So they're trying to look at a 50-50 thing. And that's how a budget bill is usually passed, is through a 50-50. And this parliamentarian is pretty much the gatekeeper, but is a consultant. We could always bypass that, but it has a tremendous power at this moment.
There was basically, you mentioned parole for 10 years.
Yeah.
Do you know what is just the basic requirement for that? Because I know there's just not too many requirements, but one is the physical presence, right? So who would it benefit? I mean, is it somebody that entered, I don't know, 5 years ago in I don't know, 2016? Would that person benefit from this?
The date they're looking at, not everyone's going to benefit from this. They want individuals who have been established in the United States, who have lengthy residences. And so they're looking at a January 2011 cutoff. So individuals who have been here for at least 10 years. It looks like that's what is happening. Now, there are other measures, not only the parole benefit. And incidentally, if a person is given parole, that can lead to other options as well. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of individuals who could apply for a green card here through a family member, but they can't because they're missing one piece of the puzzle. And that is they don't have proof that they had entered lawfully in the United States. Well, parole would fix that. And if a person's given this parole document, they would be able to meet that requirement and apply for a green card here in the United States. So those are things that have indirect effects, positive effects. The other measure is that it would potentially shorten the visa waits. What we're talking about in some instances, siblings who are filing through a U.S. citizen must wait, 20, 30 years? Well, there are measures or proposals to reduce that time by using some of these unused visas. They're recapturing some of these visas that are not used because we have a system, a quota system, as they say, where certain visas are given to certain groups and they have to use it within a period of time or it's lost. Well, they're trying to recapture those, I don't know, 200, 400,000.
It's 400,000, right?
400, did not use their visas. So they're trying to get those visas and apply them here, and they would be able to do it. The other thing is that there are some individuals that could probably pay a higher fee, $2,500 or something like that,
So
something crazy.
Yeah, it's $5,000 in
Yeah.
one instance, right? So you basically can skip over somebody who's waiting. And so, for example, on the business side, there are wait times depending on the country. So there are a few countries that are oversubscribed, and the wait time is 9 years, for
Yeah,
example, in
it's
some
crazy.
categories. So these guys are professionals. They're working on in a professional status and with a professional in a professional classification, and they have to wait. They're from India, 9 years. And so there might be a way to pay more to be able to skip and apply for a green card. So you basically kind of like a pay for play. But one negative that I saw from this was the increase in some of the filing fees. And I just wanted to mention a couple of them. So if you have somebody who has a green card, not necessarily want to be a citizen or it doesn't qualify yet, U.S. citizen, and they want to renew it. So the current fee to renew a green card is $455. And this bill would add additional $500 to it, and so the resulting filing fee to renew your green card will be almost $1,000, and that's pretty substantial when you ask me. Especially you have some applicants, some residents who are just barely making it, and so doubling that fee is pretty substantial. So some positives, some negatives. Hopefully the third time is a charm, or will be a charm for Plan C. And perhaps we'll see some type of relief. I just wanted to mention real quick on the parole that you mentioned for this potential bill. We already have a parole, and very common parole is a military parole in place, and this is something for example, if you are a parent who is who is not in lawful status or entered unlawfully without any type of visa. And you have a child who is serving or has served in the U.S. Armed Services, you as the parent could apply for this military parole in place, and if it's granted, then that child who had served or is serving in the U.S. Armed Services is able to sponsor you, the parent, for permanent residence. Again, subject to any other grounds of inadmissibilities. But that's something that's already been around. It was introduced by President Obama, and it has been pretty successful because you have kids that are given the ultimate, right? They are serving this country, and so we have many clients that have done that, and it's just so admirable that they are serving, and now they're able to assist their parents.
That's a good point. That's a good.
What do you?
And I was just happening to check Martin on Twitter and everything. If there has been any news yet, right, on this parole bill, so we're waiting for that, and it could drop any minute. It's supposed to be something that is issued in writing. There was no. I didn't get a sense of how it went. There's some notes you can hear. You can see in Twitter. Or on the internet, that there was some sense that it could have gone both ways, but we're always looking at that to getting a hint. But as far as right now, 424, we haven't seen any updates on that.
That's a great point. So again, we'll be monitoring it for you. So if anything drops, we'll drop it. We'll post it on social media, and that's why it's so important to follow us, subscribe, like. Go to our website, subscribe. We do weekly emails and weekly bulletins, so that would certainly be there. But anytime anything drops, it's there. Also, as I mentioned, our app, Lawpilot Guardian. Sign up for that. So, all right. Well, let's hope the third time is the charm. Let's move to the third point, and that's the Daca update. We know that. It's been a seesaw kind of a process with Daca beginning back in June of 2012 when it was announced. What's the latest? There's been some noise about Daca. What is happening with Daca right now?
So this past Monday, the comment period for the new Daca, the proposed Daca regulations, if you will, has ended. And what I mean by comment period is that as we know, DACA, they pulled the plug from DACA, not in its entirety, but only for individuals who are applying for the first time. So individuals who want to apply for DACA and have never applied for DACA, they can't right now. And the reason for that is that during the summer, there was a court order in the Southern District of Texas by Judge Hainan, who is known as a political activist judge. All right, he was very vocal about DACA to begin with and prior to the litigation. And so the judge was hearing a case over the legality of DACA. You had states such as Texas who were against it, and you had the current administration that was defending it. So the judge, unfortunately, said that, with DACA, DACA is not a valid program, and these are two reasons why. Number one, it didn't go through this procedure under the law where you announce a new change in the law or new regulation and you get feedback from the public. That's actually pretty normal, especially in situations where agencies are trying to create benefits, government public benefits, and they're trying to establish criteria for that. So that's pretty common. So he said that he didn't go through that process and therefore it was illegal. He also made a comment about that this was this program, the DACA program, could not be created by the executive branch, that it had to go through Congress. So you had two things. So what the Department of Homeland Security did is that they went ahead and went back to the drawing board, and they said, let's go ahead and do this through this procedure. And so they announced these proposed regulations, which, by the way, look almost exactly the same as the criteria for applying for DACA, for initial DACA to begin with back in 2012 when it was announced. So the criteria for first-time DACA looks the same under these new regulations. And they went ahead and announced it, and they got 9,000 comments. It's pretty high for a proposed rule or law regulation, if you will. And so that period that was given to the public, and you had a lot of groups in favor of DACA, and you had some groups that were against DACA or immigration in general. So those comments will be looked at by the agency before they publish the final product, before the final regulation comes into effect. And I think here, DACA 2.0 version, if you will, it might happen and would give an opportunity for first-time applicants that can't file their DACA now, or maybe you did file your DACA, but they're not going your initial DACA, but it's been suspended, and so maybe that will give an opportunity for those to realize those benefits now. But we were talking about this earlier, Martin. What is the outcome? How's that going to look? I mean, it's once this regulation comes out, there's a good sense, not only from myself or from us, but other groups and other colleagues that are in the know, that this could be litigated. And I think that's kind of a no-brainer, that once DACA 2.0 comes out, there could be an effort by the individuals or states that want to do away with DACA completely to try to stop it. And they'll do it based on that. Remember that second part of Judge Hainan's opinion, that the president doesn't have the right to create something like this. Then we might see that issue play out, unfortunately, and it could get very litigious. And that's one of the central reasons why it's very important for Congress. We're talking about parole, but parole in a way is a temporary fix too. So we're talking about giving someone legal permanent residence that then provides that person the opportunity to become a U.S. citizen. So we want that. It's a pathway, right? So that's why it's very important. And I would recommend contact your congressional representatives, your senators, pressure them. participating in these groups and protests. It's very important that you do that. And hopefully we could see some changes. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out that the DACA is still live, and it's for those that originally had it, and they just keep renewing it. The only time it lapses, and they are considered to be first-time applicants, are if their DACA had lapsed for more than a year. And so if that happens, it's no longer just a renewal with the simple form and the filing fee. It is basically evidencing all of the requirements. So there have been some people that had dropped out, or whether it was for financial reasons, they just didn't have the fee and they couldn't do it. They couldn't apply, and now they're stuck because they cannot apply until something new comes out, if this will stick.
Yeah.
And they lose jobs, and it's tough. They're facing hardships, and for the vast majority, those are contributors to the economy.
Absolutely.
Local, national. They're your teachers. They're everywhere.
Yeah, it's crazy. This stop and go where dreamers, those with DACA, their lives are suspended. They're given the green light. The judge, a court might say, yeah, DACA's good, and they enjoy the benefits and privileges. And then all of a sudden, you get a court order saying stop. And then you get an appeals court that says, no, we'll let them go ahead and do it during this. So it's stop and go, and that they deserve more than that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a defective roller coaster, right? I mean, you used to compare DACA to roller coaster, and this is some type of a glitches. Yeah. So it's up and down, but every once in a while you
roller
get to
coaster
move
from hell.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, let's see what happens when the rule will be published, and then see if it's going to be litigated. But there are few states that you mentioned that are most likely that they'll take it up again, and it's election season, folks. So it might be pretty important for the governors or others to kind of jump on the bandwagon and try to go and fight it. Let's move to number 4. What's priority enforcement? What is that?
Yeah. So another change this week, Monday. They're dropping on Mondays. So this Monday, if you recall, and we wrote about this and a while back through our social media platforms, that ICE has changed the way it conducts its business regarding those individuals that it finds here without any documents. It's not like how it was under Trump. In the Trump era, it was deport everyone you encounter here that doesn't have status. Well, that's going to put a considerable strain on resources. We just can't deport everyone. And you see it right now with individuals who are facing deportation, but they're placed to, they're waiting for their court hearing. And in some cases, they're waiting 2-3 years for a court. So it doesn't make sense to deport everyone. So when the new administration entered in the scene, they changed that. They reversed that policy. And in reversing that policy, they said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and structure some policies. We're going to be reviewing what we got right now. In the meantime, we're not going to deport individuals who do not have a criminal history, who lack a criminal history, or it's a very insignificant. But they did list individuals who were targeted or who are still a priority for them. And those individuals are generally folks who have committed serious offenses. And so through this course, they went ahead and said, okay, starting, which was November 29th, which is past Monday, starting on that day, we're going to change it up. And these are our final policies. So if you present a public threat or national security, or if you are a recent border crosser who crossed in illegally, you are a priority. We're going to focus our resources to get you out of the country. And now, if you don't have a criminal history, generally speaking, and if you lived here for a while, you might have ties here, families, work, whatever, then they should leave you alone and not process you, which makes a lot of sense. And so that is the general thrust. This is the general policy of the administration, is to use their resources wisely and deport those who they consider a threat. And not everyone is a threat. They're supposed to go through these factors, including the time you lived in the United States, if you have anything pending, what's your criminal history like, your immigration history like, have you been deported? So those are factors they're going to be looking at. What we're seeing right now, that's somewhat of a distraction, is just like Daca, we're seeing litigation play out, and it's going back and forth. And so right now, as we speak, those policies are being reviewed by an appeals court in the Fifth Circuit. It's New Orleans-based appellate court that reviews these types of matters. And they recently said, look, we're going to go as an entire court. I don't know, there's over 20 judges, I think. They're going to review this issue. And whatever lower court decision was in place to keep the immigration policies under Biden, they would go ahead and they'll vacate them. What we don't know is that this is confusing. And as you can probably sense from my tone and my wording right here, it's confusing because no one knows, not even DHS right now, on what to do. Should they go back to their prior policies or what? And so I think it's a little too early, but I think maybe next week we'll get more information. In the meantime, I still think that the main policies here are not to focus resources on those who lack a criminal history. It might be different for those of you who have a deportation order or who have been waiting the deportation. They might fall under a group. They might be a priority. But for the general population who have been here for many, many years and have family members, and they might have committed one or two misdemeanors, I don't see that they're going to come knocking at your door.
When you compare that to the prior administration, you would say this is more laxed approach. But then if, moving to the fifth and final topic, which is the migrant protection or the Remain in Mexico protocol, people will say, well, the current administration is relaxing these enforcement, right? These priority enforcements. But why is the current president following the previous president's footsteps? So that's typically what people see. Yeah. But can you explain that? What is happening here? Why the asylum seekers will have to start waiting in neighboring country?
Well, one simple word, right? Politics, and it's balance. The administration is trying to strike a balance here. They recognize that not everyone is for some of the proposals, progressive immigration proposals, if you will. And there are some individuals, some legislators, some lawmakers who are in districts or in states that they don't have enough support for these, what they consider kind of a relaxed approach. So I think you see them doing that. Now, on paper, the Biden administration said they're against this, and they tried to take this away.
They're being forced too, right?
Right.
It seems like they're being forced.
Right. They try to take this away, but there's a court order right now to reinstate this Trump era Remain in policy, which, by the way, it's called Migrant Protection Protocol, but Remain in Mexico, that's how we know it. And basically what it does, it requires asylum seekers, non-Mexicans, just asylum seekers, usually from Central America, who cross through Mexico to try to reach the United States border to apply for asylum or for a better life. They now have to wait in Mexico while their asylum paperwork is being processed and while they're waiting for their court hearing, which was the way it was under the Trump administration. The problem is, and this is what it is, when you have individuals there, they're going to succumb to the environment. They're going to be victims of crimes, victims of extortion, and that's already happened. I think there's been over 1,000 reports of individuals who would otherwise be here requesting asylum are forced to wait in Mexico without protection. And then you have narcos and traffickers, messing around with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really bad, the situation the way it is now. Supposedly under this new policy that they struck, and the United States had to deal with Mexico and dealing with what kind of structure they will have. They want to try to process these asylum cases within 180 days, which again I think undermines. It goes to their disadvantage, because you and I know, Martin, that asylum cases can't. Some of them are very complex, and if we rush them, I don't know if we're giving them due process there. But we'll wait to see what happens. Litigation is going to continue to happen on that one too.
Well, that was pretty fruitful discussion. We thought it'd be a wrap up, pretty quick one, and we're at minute 40.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
see, this is how crazy the immigration has us these days.
And it's pretty complex too. So I think we brought some good points and hopefully answer some questions or unanswered questions of our followers. It's the end of the week, so please like and subscribe to our page. We're pretty much everywhere on social media, or you can just go to our website, keyvisa.com, and sign up for our weekly bulletin, which is pretty much gives you the same overview. You can download our app. When I say our, we developed it with Nick. We're co-creators, but other law firms are using it across the nation as well. I have it. My family has it. It's for us, it's emergency reporting. For many immigrants, it's good source or great source of rights knowledge. So know your rights. It's in English and Spanish. There are latest and breaking news that we push. So anything that we discussed here you're going to find it there, again, in both languages. You can find the link to register. You don't have to be a client. You can find the link to register in the comments below. And this red button that you see there, it is it's an emergency button. So if you find yourself in any kind of emergency, when you press it, our team monitors this 24/7, so we know exactly where you are. Through GPS locating and on the maps, and then the app actually records and uploads the audio to the cloud every few seconds. So the attorneys, the team that is on standby reviews it and then determines whether or not you need our assistance. So this is something that is very, very good.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a response team right here. Right there, that's your response guy.
Yeah, I am known to respond within 90 seconds, even at 3 o'clock in the morning. But we do have a team of people monitoring it 24/7. So that's really important. And soon our clients will be able to manage their case on the app as well. So it will give you the Guardian feature of it, but also case management. I also would like to mention that this is our, I believe, third or fourth year, we are doing a toy drive for the less fortunate kids in shelters and in safe houses. And so what we have done for the last few weeks up to the week or so before Christmas, we are exchanging the consultation fee for a couple of toys ranging or totaling $40. So if you want to schedule a consultation, again, there will be a link in the comments below. You can select which consultation types are part of this program, and then you can consult with us and donate the toys, so we can donate those to several nonprofits, organizations we worked with in the past. And you will see the joyous smiles and faces of the kids that probably would not get any gifts for Christmas. I also would like to give a shout out to our producer, the man behind the scene, Joe Lopez. Yeah, I don't know if Joe can somehow insert himself into the show, just to give us a wave. I'm not sure if he can do it, but he's very. Boom. There's Joe. Joe, big guy, always helps us. And yeah, he's sporting a nice sweatshirt there, his T-shirt that he's helped us design. Joe is a very important part of this show, of all the shows, our business-based and investment show. our marketing and graphics, and he's the one-man show. So we couldn't do it without him. He makes sure that we sound good, we look good, even though it doesn't always. It's not the always case, because we tend to not to listen to him, and so he always tries to keeps us in check. So again, thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyways, everybody have a great rest of the week, beautiful weekend, and we'll see you here again next week. And again, follow us for any breaking news. Have a great weekend. Nick, thank you again for putting it together.
Thank you, everyone.
And having me on. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.